Welcome everybody to Wealth Webinar, where today this might be one of the most important wealth webinars we've done because it is time. We are finally hearing from the Fed. We are finally seeing the actions of the government showing you there's a big problem. And that problem is what we've been saying for years now. This can't be sustained. Inflation is over 7% as of 8:30 this morning, over 7%, only matched by the 1980s. Any of you old enough to remember the 1980s? You remember that runaway inflation? And then do you remember what followed that? That's where we're at, folks. You see, if you study history, if you study the economic machine and the economic patterns, we are at the end. We have arrived at a point where the expansion phase of the different cycles is done. The government made announcements. Most people don't understand what these announcements mean. They don't understand what the Fed minutes tell you, but I'm going to tell you, we are at the end, which means what you're seeing all around you. These are all telltale signs, just like the song, signs, signs, everywhere, signs. They're everywhere. The government is entering what they will call, and what has always been called, the deleveraging period. So all this is hogwash, right? What does this matter? Like, I don't even know what deleveraging means, man. The market's going up, my 401k's up, my crypto's up, my real estate's, booming. It's going to the moon until the bubble bursts and all of it deflates. And what are you left with? A 401k that shows a 30 or 40% decline. A house that you paid way too much for because you bought it at the top that is now worth 5, 10, maybe 20% less than it is now, depending on where you live in the country. Asset bubbles always pop. You've all seen it. If you're too young to remember 2008, let me give you a flashback. I watched successful people that thought they were rich, people that thought they had all the assets and everything was taken care of, go bankrupt in a matter of months. I watched banks go belly up. I watched the government scramble to stop the entire financial system from crashing and burning. And folks, for what you guys don't know and what I do is we were so close to a complete financial collapse in 2008, but they turned the printing presses on. They entered the deleveraging period. They did a good job. They made the right moves and they saved everything. But did they save everyone? No. People lost everything. They lost their retirements. They had to continue working for the next 5, 10 years. They had to sell their house, or at a loss mostly, or they had to lose their house to foreclosure, or they had to restructure their mortgage, which means the mortgage that they only had 5, 10, 15 years left on, now they're paying for the next 35 years because they had to modify it. You see, when you enter a period of time like this, don't get nervous. Take action, but don't get scared. Understand this is normal. Understand this has happened so many times, not just in this country, but in every other country, as that video was showing you. This is normal. What is not normal is the government's reaction to keep kicking the can. You see, this crash that you're about to see happen, whether it's in 2022 or 2023, we can't time the market, but when it does come, it's all normal. It's the end of a cycle, several cycles for that matter. It's the end of the long-term debt cycle. 75 to 100-year cycle. We're at the end, folks. It's the end of a short-term debt cycle. Actually, it's past the short-term debt cycle because usually that's 5 to 8 years. We're at the end of a technology cycle that started back in the early 2000s. We're at the end of a lot of cycles, folks. And depending on what you believe, what you read, or what you hear, the message is always the same. We're going down. So today's wealth webinar is to really help you understand what you need to do, because that's really all that matters. I can sit here and tell you that this is what's coming. This is the storm. This is what it's going to look like. This is why it's going to happen. But you don't care. You just want to know, all right, what do I have to do? Well, that's what we're going to cover. Stephen, we've got an awesome show and we've got a lot of slides. We're going to talk about a couple different areas. We're going to talk about the pillars of wealth, okay, which are critical. Do you understand what the pillars of wealth are? We're going to talk about the places where your money sits, because all of you are different. All of you have money in a different place. Some of you have money in 401ks or qualified retirement plans. Some of you just have money sitting in the bank because you're wondering, I don't know what to do. I'm nervous. I'm scared. Maybe I feel bad for some of you. Maybe you have some money sitting in CDs, and oh man, I have no idea where you're getting your financial advice from, but that is definitely one we need to address. Some of you have a well-diversified portfolio, and good for you. But is it diversified properly for this economic cycle that we're about to enter? Well, these are all things we're going to cover. Stephen, where do we want to go from here?
Yeah, definitely. You know, this, and that's the right screen, right? I have on here. Just hit play.
Yep, you got it.
That's correct. Okay. So yeah, I mean, so, you know, what today is all about is really understanding why this is so important, and then building that foundation so you're prepared for what is to come. Because we put together this Money School Essentials training because there's key aspects that every single person in their financial advice should be doing. Things like controlling your money, taking back control of your money from giving out control to everybody else. Things like paying yourself interest instead of giving all that interest to other people and letting the banks make billions of dollars while they pay you less than 1% of your savings account. Things like understanding multiple streams of income, passive income, how to set yourself up for retirement, how to get involved in real estate investing, and the power of what real estate can do for your financial portfolio. This is all stuff that's important always for everybody. But going into 2022 right now, and everything that we're facing and everything that's happened over the last couple of years, I truly believe that what we're teaching with this class right now is more important than any other time in your lifetime. I truly believe that. So what we're going to do today is we're going to start getting into the specifics of that. And we're going to start not only teaching you why it's so important, but we're going to teach you how to start preparing right now. Because everything we're doing right now, starting today, over the next couple of weeks, over the next 10 days, I should say, is leading into a 3-day training class, virtual training class called Money School Essentials that Chris and I put together about 2 years ago. And like I said, this training is positively impacted and helped, I don't know, hundreds, if not thousands of students over the last couple of years already. And I just can't wait to see what it's going to do for so many people this year, this specific class moving forward. So that's what today is. So this is a preview event for the Money School Essentials training class that starts, it's virtual. It starts January 21st and runs right through the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, January 22nd and 23rd. And stick with us because we're going to give you the links, and we're going to give everybody that's on this live training only a special discount code so you can get to the class. It's barely going to cost you anything, and the value you get out of it is unbelievable. So that's what today is all about. Chris, anything you want to add on that?
No, I love how you framed that up. You know, we're talking about the 3-day event. We've done lots of 3 days, and I just was responding to somebody, you know, that came to the prior 3-day, and they were asking, is it going to be the same? Absolutely not. It's a new year. It's a new bag of tricks. It's a new economic environment. Therefore, all the content, every bit of the content in the 3-day will be different and more driven and more direct to exactly what's happening today, what you need to do today, and how you can plan for this storm that's coming, and lots more. So there will be some overlap, but very little. It will be a completely different environment I say environment, but it's a completely different set of stuff we talk about at this 3-day than the other. And, you know, we sat down as a team and we talked about it. You know, like, we consider every one of you that join us for this wealth webinar, we consider you our family. We consider you the ones that show up and get around the campfire every day. We're passing a beer around at Ask Me Anything. You know, we're having a good old time. So that's why we opened up this discount code just for these wealth webinar people. You know, when I say that, I mean all of you. And the discount's huge. Okay. It's a very big discount, but it's only offered on this and not to anybody else. So you'll see pricing that's significantly more when we're marketing for it, but you are all going to get a discounted price for this. And you all need to be at this 3-day. And I know a lot of people will have excuses. They're going to say, oh, I got something going on. Oh, I'm doing this. Oh, I'm doing that. It doesn't matter. We record it. You get the recordings in an edited form where it's broken down into segments by the speakers and by the topic. So it's very easy to digest the information. You might not need all the info in the 3-day. Maybe you don't like crypto and you don't want to know anything about crypto. Skip that part. But there is something for everybody in there. And I'm telling you, and like Stephen said, this single-handedly might be one of the most important 3 days that we ever do because of the timing and the information you're going to learn, because you don't want to be the last one, because then you're too late to the party. Anyone ever show up to a party late? Anyone ever show up to a Christmas party when they're already opening presents? You feel kind of weird, right? So don't be late to this party. I'll tell you, it's not going to be good.
I think I am weird because I like to show up a little fashionably late, but I always do things a little bit differently. So nonetheless, but yeah, Chris, you're absolutely right. There will be a lot of differences. I'll just give you one example right now. So we're going to have an expert on. This training consists of going deep into banks, into real estate investment, all these different topics, but we also bring in experts that are experts in specific niches and fields. So one example, one very powerful strategy for real estate passive investing are notes. So buying and selling mortgages, essentially notes. So what we do is we bring in one of the #1 experts in note investing. The guy's been doing it for 30 some years. His name is Kevin Shortell. And he's coming in, and I just spoke with him Monday. If you're on the Money Club Monday, you got a little preview for what he's going to be teaching, but he's teaching a strategy that was just released over like the last week. So you might have heard about buying and selling notes before, but you've never heard of this strategy before. So let me just explain it, the basics of it. And then I'm gonna let Kevin show you exactly how to do it. Every single one of you on the training, I think he'll be there on Saturday. So what we're gonna do is, maybe you guys have heard of this, but the US Treasury just opened up almost $10 trillion worth of funds that they're gonna give in mortgage relief to homeowners that are behind in their mortgages that are facing foreclosure. So people that are either in foreclosure or approaching foreclosure, they've just opened up almost $10 trillion that's designated specifically only to help these people out. And these are direct payments up to $80,000 per homeowner that's facing foreclosure, that's going directly to the mortgage holder. Okay, now hear me out. The majority of mortgages are owned by who? Banks and mortgage service companies, right? However, what does note investing consist of? Buying mortgages. So there's a lot of mortgages that are out there that are owned by individual investors, people like me, Chris, and some of our money school students already. So so what we're teaching is how to go out there and find one of these types of notes that's in foreclosure, and then teaching the homeowner how to go through this new government program where it catches them up to $80,000 in their mortgages. And guess what? If you are the owner of that mortgage, of that note, guess who gets the direct deposit directly from the US Treasury in your bank account? How many of you would like to have the government deposit directly $80,000 right into your checking account just because you own a note? And then the note doesn't just stop there. So not only do you buy the note for a lot less, you're getting all that money right back, but you also then have another 50, 100, 180 months worth of mortgage payments coming in from that note. Or you take it and sell it and make a nice profit. So that's just one little tiny strategy that we're going to teach you, but just showing you the differences in how that wasn't available last year. That's a brand new program the government just released that we're already bringing and teaching you. And nobody else in the country is teaching this right now. So those are the kind of things that we're going to be getting into.
That sounds like this. Money in the bank. Well, here's another thing too that I always like talking about. You know, now we've been doing this a long time and we've got a lot of clients, and I love the success stories. The success stories are always the same. I paid off all my debt using this banking system, or I got all the money back from my car, or I took advantage of private lending. I started to learn that. Now I'm the bank and I'm making $1,000, $1,600. I made a mistake. I did a video the other day regarding one of our students. And I thought that, you know, his passive income, I thought it was $440 a month, which, hey, listen, he's not working any harder for that. He's not working any longer, and he's not taking any additional risk compared to what he was doing before. And he's making 440. He corrected me very, very quickly. And if I'm correct with the numbers, he says, no, Chris, it's way more than 440 because I had forgot about all the extra money. It's closer to, I think, $2,000 a month that he's making. And then I did another case study with another client who came into this completely green, was so nervous about what she was going to do with money, had no idea what her future was going to look like, literally thought she was going to go broke. She now has a set income of cash flow, residual money that comes in. She just continues to do what she does. She works as a teacher. She's in the education space, and she does that. But every month, money shows up in her bank. She is so thankful because every day she goes out to the mailbox, there's checks every single month. And those checks are in excess of $3,000. I think it's actually maybe $4,000 every single month. Folks, This isn't because these people took on high risk assets. This isn't because they dumped money in the stock market, learned some, expensive or fancy, algorithm or options trading strategy, which we will be covering options and stocks on there. Sodi's going to come on, but he's going to be talking about it totally different than you've ever heard. We're going to be talking and teaching a whole different thing with the 10-10 strategy at the 3-day. And not only that, when you hear all these stories and you hear them over and over, it's not the story, it's not the income, it's the freedom that it provides, folks. It's the financial freedom. And you know the other best part? Everything that I just told you in the beginning, everything you've been reading, everything that video is talking about this financial collapse, all those case studies, those stories I just told you about, those incomes, nothing changes. Because their money originates in a place where their money's guaranteed, earning uninterrupted compound interest, and the money is out there working in places that are fully secured. When you buy your stock of, I don't know, whatever stock you're buying, maybe it's Tesla, maybe it's something else. What secures your stock? I'll tell you, investor confidence, the company behind it. But what happens to all stocks when the market goes down? Well, go out to any harbor with boats in it and sit there for a long while and watch the tide come in and watch the tide go out. Do the boats go up and do the boats go down? Very consistently, very rhythmically, every time. That's how stocks work. Doesn't matter how good of a stock you buy, they all will go down like they all go up. Different, some go up more, some go up less, some go down more, some go down less. But you just have to understand that sometimes the answer to your financial solutions is not taking on more risk. Sometimes that answer is not you saving more money. That's what I always used to do as an advisor. I would teach people, hey, you got to save more money if you want to retire or hit these goals, or you got to take on more risk. It was one or the other. Save more or take on more risk. Well, if the person can't save more because they're already saving the max amount, what do they got to do? Well, I guess I got to take on more risk. And then what happens when it blows up? Oh, that didn't work out so well. That's not the solution, folks. That's not what the wealthy do. That's not what you're going to do. You're going to learn some simple strategies used by the wealthiest families. You're going to learn banking. That's it. You're going to learn simple banking, which is going to teach you not just like how to go deposit your money, but it's going to teach you how to make your money work for you with collateral in low risk places where that money can work unconditionally. And then not only that, for the first time, and I'm super excited, and this will be the first time we ever teach it. We've been working diligently at the 3-day. We are going to talk about a brand new package that we just built because we've never really been able to help any of you outside of giving you advice for your qualified retirement funds. Your 401ks, your IRAs, your SEP IRAs, your simple IRAs, your 403Bs, your 457s. We've never really been able to help you really take back full control of those because it was always sitting in a place where you weren't in control, but you could kind of manage it yourself. So we got you that far. But now what we figured out through a strategic partnership with a very large custodian, we now have the ability for you to now take back control of not just your non-qualified money, but your retirement funds. And we can teach you with your retirement funds how you can buy crypto with your retirement funds, how you can buy real estate. And we're going to get into that. I don't know if today, but definitely by next week, we're going to start getting into that. And we're going to drive it home at the 3-day. So Stephen, where can we go from there? You want to get into the pillars?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as we jump into this, just, you guys all know Chris, you've been following him for years. I mean, just so you know, if anybody's new on here, I work hand in hand with Chris on everything we do with Money School, Money Multiplier. I started out as a personal financial advisor with Ameriprise out of college. And then I learned, a lot about that side of the fence, that side of the world, traditional education when it comes to, invest in your 401k, save your money, and, that whole thing that just doesn't work. The Social Security Administration tells us that, and we can talk about that too. But, a couple of years into that, I was introduced to real estate investing, and that really led to my entrepreneurial journey. And over the last 15 years, I've had the opportunity to travel all over the country, work with thousands of individuals all over the states, and just really be able to live a beautiful life. I live down here in South Florida with my family, and it's just been a blessing. And one thing, Chris, everybody can relate to a lot is if it wasn't for these kinds of strategies and understanding financial education and passive investments, when things like COVID hit, it just, we've seen a huge spike in deaths over the last couple of years. And what a lot of people don't realize is it's not due to COVID. This spike in deaths is due to suicides and overdoses and things that are directly related to stress. And the number one factor that stresses people out in life is money. And, when they say you can't go to work, you can't pay your bills, I mean, they can give you all the money in the world to be able to live and afford to just get by. But what's your purpose? And we're seeing the results of that now. It's people losing their lives through these horrible ways. And there's no reason for any of that, because if you understand financial education and how to create this stuff, especially from a younger age, you can set yourself up in the future where you don't have that stress and you don't have that worry when things that are completely out of your control happen. Because let's face it, if it's not COVID, it's a divorce. If it's not a divorce, it's a job loss, or it's an economy crash, or it's a stock market crash. Or it's hey, my 401k looks awesome, I'm ready to retire tomorrow. And then boom, the thing drops by 40% and I got to go back to work for 5 or 10 more years. And it happens over and over and over and over again in history. And it seems like we never learn our lessons. So you guys that are here now are the 5%ers that want to learn, that want to put yourself. So thank you for being here. And more importantly, congratulations for being here, because you're taking your time instead of watching football like I was doing Sunday. You're here learning something new. And that's really what Money School is all about. And I would assume that's why all of you are here. And Chris, I mean, one of the things when I first met you, you said this, and it's always stuck with me, but your quote's always been, it's never about your actual resources. It's about how resourceful you can be. Because I don't care if you're living paycheck to paycheck right now, or you have $10-15 million in the bank and you don't know what the hell to do with it because you're losing money in a savings account and the stock market's going to crash. So what the fuck do you do with that money, right? So I don't care what your financial problem is or what's going on with it. These solutions and strategies work for all. We have a little bit of something for everybody mixed into here, whether it's asset protection and tax strategies and passive investments for those of you with money, or whether it's the resources that you need to go out there and hustle and start generating more income for yourself to be able to get to that next level. We're going to teach you all of that in Money School and with this 3-day training. So anything you want to add, Chris? I think most people know you, but
no, I guess the only thing, for those of you that don't know me, we have a lot of new people on here today. Instead of watching football games, I don't even watch TV. A lot of people watch the football games, and this is just so everybody knows, if you see the cat on the screen, it's funny. We got, some people from TikTok saying, oh, we're in a cubicle. Well, this is an 8,000 square foot cubicle up then. So the biggest cubicle they've ever seen. But this cat, was a stray, and we brought him in as our shop cat, because why not have a buddy? And we named him Lazy Cash, because so many people have lazy cash just laying around, money that just sits around like this cat does day in and day out, and their money is not working for them. And that's the biggest thing. But while everybody's watching football games, enjoying themselves, I find myself being a nerd. I sit there and I watch YouTube videos. I study economists. I study these patterns and these different things that are going on out there, so that then on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I can then teach people, warn people, and show people the path. Now, here's the problem, and you all know this. The path is not the one that everybody else walks. This is where it becomes very difficult. What we teach, what we do, let me tell you what we don't do. We don't manage your money, okay? Unlike a financial advisor like I was for 16 years, you cannot pay us to manage your money. We don't do that. We teach you how to be a good steward of your money. We show you principles that cannot be broken. We teach you laws of wealth, the 6 laws of wealth and the 10 rules of prosperity. You see, these are the things people need. And these are the things you have not learned. These are the things they don't teach you in school. They don't teach it in high school. They don't teach it in trade school. And they certainly don't teach it in college, because they don't want you to know this stuff. These are the secrets of the wealthy. Secrets that have been around since before Christ. It's been around since the time of Babylon, the richest city in the world back in its day. It wasn't the richest city in the world. It wasn't the richest land because of more things or more resources. It was the richest land because the wealthy individuals taught everybody the laws of wealth and how money worked. And as long as people took and applied that knowledge and did the things that the wealthy do, that is how Babylon became the wealthiest city in the world back then. So today, fast forwarding, why are we not, you might say the United States is the wealthiest place, but really, if you think about it, it is not the wealthiest place anymore, because we are broken and we are lied to every single day by the education system. We are lied to about how money works because we are taught to give up control of our money. We're taught to give everybody else our money and say, hey, good, go do what you can with it. And then hopefully you find somebody that is a good fiduciary or somebody that is a good steward of your money and actually has the wisdom through knowledge and time and failure to do the things that they want or things that you want, and the needs that you want get solved by them managing your money. But I got bad news for you. How many of you honestly, over a long period of time, can say that the person you gave up control of your money for has literally succeeded in solving the problems that they were hired to solve? Now, some of you might say yes, but we've been in an economic boom since after 2008. We have been in a straight line up. Oh, what about COVID? That was just a little blip. That was a V. It was a precursor, a forewarning. It gave the government the ability to print unbelievable amounts of money. All the money in the system, all the money that the Treasury holds in bonds and mortgage-backed securities, like 70 or 80% of it was printed in the last year, folks. Wake up. This bubble, this reality is smoke and mirrors that you're living in right now. And that's what we got to understand. But it's not just that we need to understand that the problem is here. We need to understand, what do we do ourselves to solve our money problems? What are your money problems is the first question I always ask. Is it too much debt? Is it you don't know where to put your money, where it's going to be safe? Is it you don't know how to invest? Is it that you don't know how to be a banker and how to be your own bank? Easy to solve, folks. It just takes your time, and that's what you're doing here. You're investing your time. But when we look at money, we have literally been kind of conditioned that Wall Street is the best place for us to keep our money. Now, I'm not saying Wall Street's not a bad place, but there's a right and a wrong time to be in Wall Street, and there's a right and a wrong way to invest in Wall Street. And right now, if you're buying into Wall Street, you are buying high. I don't care what you're buying. You're buying high. So you better be very careful, because you know the rules, right? Warren Buffett says them. Buy low, sell high, and don't lose money. Not buy high, sell low, and lose money. I literally had somebody on a training earlier today, and they were talking about different things, but they were literally talking about buying stocks right now because they're going up. When we look in the rearview mirror, when we focus just on past performance, we don't get the clear picture. We don't see where we're going. It'd be like driving a giant ship, out in the ocean, and you constantly are looking in the rearview mirror to see where you were. And right in front of you is a giant cliff that your ship's about to run into. If you don't look out the front windshield, you don't know what's coming. That's what we need to do. And past performance, what your 401k made last year, or what your stocks or whatever you're investing in made last year, means nothing right now, except for one thing. You should probably look at thinning out some of those gains and taking them off the table, because eventually they might not be there. And that is the critical things you have to learn. And they're not difficult, folks. Sometimes it's just a matter of reallocating your current portfolio. Sometimes it's a matter of shifting where your money is. Sometimes it's a matter of just changing one thing and putting your money in a different place where it is safer and it allows it to operate in an environment of uninterrupted compound interest.
And that's exactly, that's exactly what this is all about, and when we talk about the 3 pillars of education, it all boils down to that foundation. First you have to understand exactly, why we need to take advantage of things like uninterrupted compounding interest, why money sitting still is losing money, especially this day and age when we have 7% inflation, according to the government, which really means 15 to 20% inflation, right? We can probably all agree with that. Once we understand, these problems and why the fact that, the Social Security Administration straight up tells us that, if you take 100 people, one of those people will be wealthy, 4 will be financially secure, and the other 95 out of the 100 of them are going to be, forced to continue working, just be dead broke or actually die, which, back to the stress thing I was talking about earlier. And this is coming from the Social Security Administration. So, why this stuff is so important, why you want to be that 5%. And, once you understand that, then what we can do is we can build this roadmap for you and this financial plan, and we can talk about these strategies. Because one of the things that I do with every single person that attends our Money School Essentials virtual training event is I get on the phone with them, or Chris gets on the phone with them, or one of our other money mentors gets on the phone with you, and we talk to you about your personal situation. Hey, over this weekend, you learned about crypto investing, you learned about options trading, you learned about the infinite banking concept and privatized banking, you learned about real estate investing and wholesaling and mobile home parks and apartment complexes. You learned about all this stuff. Now let's talk about where you are now and what's next. So where are you now and what's next? And how are we going to build that financial roadmap for you specifically? So that's all part of this training we have coming up, is afterwards hopping on the phone with us and talking about your strategy and then implementing these systems. You know, Chris mentioned a minute ago, if you have qualified funds, old 401ks, IRAs, retirement money that's in these retirement funds, what's the best strategy for that money? How do we take back control of it and have it compounding for you until retirement so you can live that retirement the way that you want to? This is all part of that financial roadmap. If you have money sitting in the bank, how do we get that money moving? Remember, two important parts about being successful financially that every single person must have. Number one, compounding interest. You have to take advantage of compounding interest. Hey, Chris, answer this for me. Name a company in the country that uses compounding interest.
There isn't one.
There isn't one. But guess what? We can take advantage of compounding interest as individuals, and we can incorporate that into our businesses. Okay. So we're going to show you that. So uninterrupted compounding interest is mind-blowing stuff. And Einstein said it best: the eighth wonder of the world, compounding interest. Those who understand it, use it. Those who don't, pay it. Decide what side of the fence do you want to be on. Are you going to be paying this stuff? Are you going to give all your money to the banks, to these financial institutions the rest of your life? Or are you going to start recycling, recapturing that, keeping that not only in your financial life, but your kids, your grandkids, and creating generational wealth? So keep that money compounding. And the way to keep it compounding is to store it in the right vehicles and then understand the power of money movement. So taking that money simultaneously and keeping it moving. Because one thing I understand, and all successful financial people know, is money sitting still does nothing. Money sitting still is losing money. Money moving, money in movement is making more money. So taking your money and keeping it moving at all times, even if it's that compounding money that's being saved, even keeping that money moving at all times. And that's what privatized banking, the infinite banking concept, is all about, and how these strategies. Because Chris, other than people that want to pay off their debts, what is the number one thing we hear from people that get started with infinite banking and privatized banking? Wow. They don't know what to do with their money, right?
Yeah, they a lot of times they start and their money's just sitting there like, all right, now what? I just answered a question, like I need to learn more ways to move my money through my banking system.
Right. And that's what all these strategies during this weekend are designed to introduce you to them. So you can think to yourself, hey, that makes a lot of sense. Hey, what I already do with my life, whether it's a job, a career, already investing in real estate, owning a business, whatever, what can I do to enhance what I'm already doing and take me to that next level? And that's what these strategy calls are for. And then we can set you up with these plans. We can make sure that you're going in the right direction. So you are part of this 5%. So you're not part of the 95% that's broke, and that you're able to live the life that you want to. And it really does start with these 3 pillars of education. So just to get into these real briefly, Chris, you're a big real estate guy, but you've sold all your real estate, or the large majority of it, over the last couple of years. But if you don't mind, what drew you to real estate? Why did you want to start flipping 260 some homes, build up a rental portfolio of almost 100 homes, and then sell it all off? Like, why are you in the situation? How did you get it started with that? And now why are you where you are now?
Well, I started for the same reason a lot of people start in real estate. I mean, first off, I was an advisor when I first got started, and I saw that all my wealthiest clients, the ones that I wanted to manage all of their money, they didn't give me hardly any of their money. They gave me small little pieces, like 10% or 5%. They were all in real estate. And it became clearly evident. I worked with doctors, I worked with, all sorts of different people, business owners, but the ones that were the wealthiest were the real estate investors. But then I really woke up to this after 2008. I saw wealthy real estate investors get wealthier after 2008. Now, a lot of people don't understand that. They're like, wait a second, Chris, 2008, the Great Recession, real estate values plummeted. Yes, but the people that I'm talking about were in the rental game. There's several clients that I had, a couple specifically. One's name was George. He was a big landowner. He owned a bunch of apartment buildings that were nothing fancy. I remember thinking, oh my God, George has got to have these beautiful apartments. I drove by one of his buildings. I'm like, holy crap, that place is a shithole. But he owned B's and C's. So after the recession, although the price of his properties dropped, it didn't matter to him. He was more concerned about the tiny little amount he had invested with me that just went down 30, 40%. He wasn't concerned at all about his real estate because every month he went to his mailbox and there were the checks. And he just got wealthier and wealthier because what he did is when the market went down, unfortunately, I lost him as a client. He took his money and he bought more real estate because why? Because he understood the simple economics of making money, and that is buy low. When I started seeing this, and I started seeing all these wealthy people, and I started going to masterminds at the lowest point, because I almost went bankrupt in 2008. I was literally one payment away from it. And I saw all these real estate investors, some of them lost, but you know the ones that lost? The ones that lost it all were the ones that were risky drivers, looking in the rearview mirror. They were flipping houses, buying houses, using, not paying attention to what was coming, but really just focusing on what had already happened, thinking the market was just going to keep going up. Does that sound familiar, folks? Because there's an awful lot of people doing that now. There's gurus all over TikTok, Instagram, all over the social media platform. And all they're doing is selling coaching programs to teach you how to flip houses. I got news for you. Flipping houses right now might be one of the riskiest real estate ventures you can do because you are playing with fire. You are buying at the highest of the market and hoping the market keeps pushing higher. You're already seeing cracks in that. You're seeing weaknesses in the home builders numbers. You're seeing weaknesses in demand. Maybe not in Florida, because Florida and Texas, a little bit different story because nobody wants to live in this shitty state that I live in called New York. And a lot of people are done with California. And if California pushes through this new tax bill where they increase all of the California people's their taxes, dude, like we're going to be going to California a lot. And we're going to be going there to buy properties 50% off because people are done with that. But the whole idea behind real estate is, real estate to me is the single greatest investment of all time. Number one, it's tangible. What other investment can you invest in that when you get pissed off at it, you can go scream at it, kick it, spit on it, you can spray paint it, you can hit it with a sledgehammer? Real estate. Done that. I've gotten mad, gone in with sledgehammers. Man, it is the greatest thing. Please don't do that unless you plan on demoing first, because it could end up costing you a lot of money. But the second thing is it can be leveraged. You can leverage real estate to basically go out there and get resourceful and get more money, because once you have the real estate, it provides a vehicle that allows you to collateralize it and leverage it. Not only that, real estate is one of the only investments that has multiple exit strategies. When you want to exit real estate, how can you do that? Well, I can sell it. Okay, but my value just dropped 30%. I can't sell it. I'll lose money. Great. You could refinance it with the bank. Oh, the bank just stopped lending, or my credit score took a hit because the next Great Depression took me out. Great. You could Airbnb it. You could rent it out. You could do so many different things that will buy you time without taking you to the poorhouse. I just love real estate, but I also want to forewarn that real estate, you have to understand, to make money in real estate, you have to make money on the buy, or you have to pick the absolute right strategy. We get people all the time. Yeah, but it's always a yeah, but. It's like, yeah, but. TikTok's famous for this. Yeah, but. Yeah, but what? Just pick the right strategy. People are always saying, yeah, but I'm buying real estate because I'm in it for the long haul. When your real estate drops 40%, are you going to be okay? That's a question you got to be asking yourself. I'm not saying real estate's going to drop 40%. I just want to be clear, but it could. And are you ready for that? Are you ready to see a 40% or 30% drop in the value of your real estate? Well, if your answer is, yeah, it really doesn't matter, Chris, I'm in it for the cash flow. Great. You are in the right strategy. So those are my things. Sorry, I went long on that. Real estate's a very important thing, but also to buy real estate, you got to have money. You can't go out into this marketplace right now and find opportunities if all the money you have is coming from the bank. Good luck. Stephen, how would that work out if somebody was bidding on a house in Florida and they're like, hey, yeah, I'm contingent on the sale of my house. Oh, and I got to borrow money from the conventional bank, that BOA thing.
Never, not going to get that deal.
You're not getting a house. I got friends right now that are buying condos. I tried talking them off the ledge. I'm like, you're buying at the highest point ever just to have a vacation house. Why don't you just wait? They had every excuse. Yeah, but. I said, fine, then do it. People don't listen because their emotion gets involved. But the problem is they got beat on every bid they put in because they didn't have the cash. They came to me because they said, hey, I need 200 grand. I said, great. I got people that have 200 grand, no problem. Okay. But they gotta understand what they're doing. And they had a good reason for wanting to buy in Florida, believe me, medical reasons, and they're sick of New York. So I don't think there's a better reason than that. But you just have to understand that real estate right now is in a bubble. And if you're not coming in buying real estate in today's world with cash, you're not going to get the deal. I mean, I just bought 2 flips. I wasn't looking for them. I wasn't searching for them. They came to me through relationships that I've built over the last 6 years. And I bought these properties at a price that all of you would salivate. Actually, some of you on here are the lenders behind those deals. You've seen the Facebook Lives that I've done at those deals. There is no way we won't make a killing on those deals, but I waited years for those deals to present themselves and those opportunities to come because I wasn't looking. I wasn't fighting the masses. I wasn't going in the MLS, making multiple offers on these properties. These properties were brought to me and me alone. Why? Because I had cash and I could solve the seller's problem, which was they had to get rid of the house immediately or they were going to lose it. Folks, that's the best situation ever. But how many of those are rolling across your desk every single week? Probably none. Every month? Probably none. Every year? 1, maybe 2 if you're already in the business with relationships. Folks, the whole name of the game in real estate is patience right now. And if you don't have patience, if you don't have the right strategy, and you don't have the right network, good luck. You're overpaying. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, and the network is in the relationships are one of the most important parts of the business. And guess where that begins? When you surround yourself with the right people. And where do you surround yourself with the right people? At events like the 3-day Money School Essentials virtual training class, because the entire 3 days we're talking with each other on chat, we're interacting with each other, we're connecting with each other. Listen, most companies that do trainings like this, they do 2 things very strictly. And I know this because I've been involved with many of them in the past. They never record anything that they do. They I don't know if they don't want to get in trouble with what they're saying or it's shady techniques they're trading or what, but they refuse to allow any recording whatsoever, let alone record it themselves and give it out the same day to all the attendees like we do. And number 2, they're typically very against students networking together. They don't want them teaming up together. They don't want them building those relationships. They want to go there and they want you to buy their $80,000 packages to be able to get access to stuff like that. We encourage it from day one. We want you to go out there. We don't have a $80,000 package to sell you. We don't have a $10,000. We don't really have anything to sell you during the 3 days. So it's one of those things where we encourage it, and it is so very important. And Chris, everything you're saying, I absolutely love about real estate, and that's why I asked you to speak a little bit about it from your experience. And it's so very true. And just to add one thing onto that, one of the reasons why I love real estate, not only now, especially now with what's coming up with foreclosures and some of the opportunities that we're inevitably going to see, but real estate can be done in any market condition at any time in history if you do understand that the money's made in the buy and you understand multiple exit strategies where once you do own it, you know, if there's a market crash, if you're getting the rents coming in, it doesn't matter. And the different types of real estate, right? If we're in a market downslide, you know, residential real estate, you're probably going to want to stay away from that. You're going to want to lean more towards affordable housing. So things like multifamily apartment complexes and mobile home parks and those kinds of real estate classes. So not all real estate is created equal, and not all strategies and all market conditions are done the same. But there are conditions, there are ways to make money in real estate if it's an up market, a down market, a level market. You just have to know what you're doing. And just to add on to that one other thing, if you're a very, very busy person and you can't actively go out there and do a flip if one does come across your desk, or maybe you just don't want nothing to do with that. Like me, I personally can't stand flips doing them myself, but I'll lend my money to a team like Chris has in place to get it flipped done all day long. So somebody like me that doesn't want to be on the active side, I'll lend my money passively all day long because it's backed by real estate and I understand real estate. You know, you can look at something like Tesla, right? Crazy valuations, profit, loss statements, things like that. Like the technicals on Tesla are just out of this world ridiculous. And Elon Musk can go on a podcast, smoke a little weed, and the stock drops by 10% or whatever. It's just, there's so many outside factors. Like you said earlier with real estate, Chris, if you get pissed off at a flip you're doing, you could say, fuck it and go. Sorry, but we're not on WTF podcast, but you can go out there and you can spray paint the windows and break things in it because it's your home. But my point is, you can manipulate it however you want to drive value up, and you can control every aspect from the buy to the value adds to how you sell it, and you're in control the entire time of that process. And to me, that's a beautiful thing. So
I got a very important question. So, we got a lot of people on here, and we got, TikTok rolling too. Let me ask all of you this. If I knew where $5 to maybe even $10 million was, and that $10 million needed a place to go, how many of you could use some of that money to make more money? Just give me an AYE in the comments right now. How many of you, if you knew where $5 to $10 million was right now, with people that absolutely needed to move their money and wanted to move their money, how many of you, holy crap, it's blowing up. I'm just going to let it keep rolling. There's going to be
I think you hit a hot button there.
Yeah. I mean, how many? 5 to 10 million. Could you all find a place to move it? Well, let me tell you what. It's still going, but I'm not going to wait for it all. I know where that is. I know where there's $5 to $10 million. It is $5 to $10 million that is eager to go to work, and it wants to go to work in deals like you have. You want to know how to tap into that? Well, that's what the 3 days is going to teach you. It's going to give you the golden key. Literally the key to unlock it. And it's that simple. There's no hoops to jump through. There's no big thing you need to do to get that $5 to $10 million. You just have to have an opportunity, because here's the deal. I know an awful lot of people that have worked very hard their entire lives. They've traded hours for dollars because that's what they've been taught to do. They've been in careers that they maybe liked or didn't like, but they've amassed wealth inside of 401ks, inside of IRAs, inside of bank accounts. And that money today needs a place to go, because what they've learned is they've learned that the wealthy don't work for money by trading hours to dollars. The wealthy make their money go to work for them. So when they have the money, the biggest problem they have is, where does that money go to work for them? Earlier, I had a whole bunch of people commenting over here in the Q&A, which you all can't see, asking me if we knew ways for them to move more of their money. Right there. It's so funny. Literally just in that little exercise, what I just did is I solved two groups of people's problems. Number one, I solved a very big problem for people that need money to make more money. All of you people that said I. Number two, I just solved, I think, an even bigger problem for the people that have money that want to make more money on that. And those people that have money that want to make more money, they don't want to work harder. They don't want to work longer. They don't want to put in overtime. And they don't want to take excessive risk. So as long as you can solve that problem for them, there is your golden ticket, your golden key to accessing $5 to $10 million. It's called Private Money Club. We created it. Just like if you wanted a date. Well, I know you guys might go to Tinder these days. Back in the day, we used eHarmony. Super easy. You signed up for the thing. You got on there. You looked through a bunch of profiles. And today it's swipe left, swipe right. And hey, Private Money Club is going to be the same thing. You just found what you were looking for. You answered some questions. You started a conversation. You built a relationship, and boom. I'm not going to go there, but you get the drift. You solve somebody's problem, and that's how you make a lot of money. So that's what we're going to teach you at the 3-day. Literally right there. 2 of those 3 pillars solved right there with that one question. Solve the real estate problem, solve the money problem, and probably solve the legacy problem to a certain extent as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to kind of expand on that a little bit, when we talk about money, there's, that's a very broad term, right? I mean, what is the definition of money, Chris?
Money is nothing more than a means of exchange. Money for food, food for money. Money for car, car for money. Money for house, house for money. It's a means of exchange. It's the only thing it is.
Right. And once you understand how money works, then we can understand how to put it to work to create more money. So that's a very important part. But one of the things that really depletes our money, and one of the reasons why so many people are not being able to retire that the way that they want to, are because of these 3, what we call enemies of the people, enemies of money. So number one, inflation. I think we hit on that pretty good just now. I mean, just came out this morning, 7%. annual inflation.
Hold on. Let me pause there because I don't think everybody heard that, Stephen. This morning at 8:30, the announcement was made. Inflation, excluding food and fuel, 7%.
Technically,
that's not very
technically
strong.
Technically the 7% including that, but we all know that the real inflation is much higher.
All right, so volatility, how's that looking today?
Right. Yeah. I mean, so volatility is simply the crazy ups and downs. And more importantly, in a market like this, it's the timing. So you hear us talk a lot, we can't time the markets. So what does that mean? What that means is that there's a pretty good consensus right now that let me use the stock market as an example here. The stock market's in a very large bubble. The Fed has been controlling this through the printing of almost $6 trillion that they've injected into the markets through bond purchases, through direct cash injections to the government that they've then put out to the people through policy and through giving corporations, banks, and these businesses just billions and trillions of dollars. So we've kept this thing up along with basically free money, cheap money. What I mean by that is the Fed sets what's called the overnight bank rate, which is what banks pay to borrow money to then lend out to you and me, which is why interest rates you can get a mortgage for 3% right now because the banks are basically borrowing at zero. The overnight Fed rate's basically zero when it should be up around 4.5%, according to the Taylor rule. Okay. So the Fed has done all this stuff to keep this economy from collapsing and crashing. They're using COVID and some of this stuff as an excuse to keep it going, but the piper's got to get paid sometime, right? And that's going to happen. So when we talk about volatility, it's going to happen. It's just a matter of the timing, and nobody can time markets. So that's why you see people like Warren Buffett that are getting out of these risky asset classes like stocks right now and moving into cash. So then they're prepared because he knows that at some point it's going to drop. And when markets drop and crash, it doesn't happen over a gradual time span. It happens very, very quickly. And the odds of you being able to time that perfectly are essentially zero. And it's one of the reasons why people end up not being able to retire that they want to. So it doesn't have to necessarily be volatility like we see in the crypto markets, where we can have $20,000 swings in a matter of a week. Volatility in the stock market is, hey, everything's going great for years and years and a decade and 12, 13, 14 years, everything's going great. And then all of a sudden, whoa, holy shit, it drops like a freaking rock and it's too late at that point. So that's the volatility we need to avoid. And that's why it's so important to understand this stuff right now and prepare now before it's too late. Okay. Absolutely. And then number 3 with taxes, you mentioned it before, California's looking at doubling their state income tax to pay for a bunch of crap, and taxes seem to be going up and up and up. And with these multi-trillion-dollar bills that are introduced, it's got to be paid for some way. I don't give a shit what they say to you on TV. It's going to come in the form of more taxes for everybody. Okay. So taxes can kill you. So just as an example, at the 3-day, we have an expert that's going to come on, and he's going to show you exactly how to start lowering your tax bills. Those of you that are high net worth individuals, maybe you have $100,000 or more in taxes, that are due each year, right? In tax liabilities is the word I'm looking for. So if you're one of those types of people that has that 6-figure or higher tax liability each year, we actually have a really, really unbelievable presentation on Saturday. I believe it's from 2 to 4 Eastern. That's not recorded. This guy, he's so good at what he does. He just won't let us record his presentation. So you have to be on live for that section, but he's going to show you how to use these strategies that the Morgans, the Rothschilds, people like Warren Buffett, why Buffett can say things like, I pay less taxes than my secretary. And the reason for that is the strategy that this gentleman Solomon is going to teach you guys at the training on Saturday. You're not going to get this information anywhere else. So taxes are one of these killers. So and if you're at that lower tax bracket, don't worry. We're bringing on Brent Carlson with Corporate Capital to talk about tax strategy. Now you can take advantage of it right now as well. Anything on that, Chris?
No. It's just important, like that one bonus session that we do where we're going to teach you, what do the wealthy do to not pay taxes? Like Stephen just said, a lot of people I got videos out online, that talk about this, and I get more hate on those videos and everything. Pay your fair share and everything. The wealthy do pay their fair share. But the wealthy also understand how the dial works because of the tax code. They understand the tax code. They've hired the best tax professionals that have read the tax code and understand how to play within it. They're not breaking rules. They're not breaking laws. They're simply setting themselves up so that they have a dial that will then give them the ability to control how much income they pay tax on. They, I know everybody hears Elon, he's paying billions and billions in taxes, but I bet you any money, if he paid tax on all of his income, it would be probably way more than that. But other people like Warren Buffett and Bill Gates and all these guys, they don't pay, much in taxes. They pay their fair share on the money that they actually turn the dial to. If you knew how to do that, you would understand that this isn't something fancy pantsy. This isn't something illegal. This isn't something bending the rules. It's right within the rules. It's just a different way of filing taxes. You file a 1040 tax return. I guarantee it. Ask your CPA, your tax preparer, why you're not filing a 1041 and see what the answer is. Because it's always interesting. But the second thing that I really want to ask all of you is, if we look at banks and we look at giant mutually owned insurance companies, or any insurance company for that matter, and we look at wealthy individuals, where are they putting their safe money? Outside of moving it and first secured loans and everything like that, because that's a big part. Where else are they putting their money? U.S. Treasury bonds, 20 and 30-year U.S. Treasury bonds. Why don't you all call your advisor, your trusted advisor, and ask them if they think that investing in U.S. Treasury bonds are a great choice for part of your portfolio. And if you look at the all seasons portfolio that we created based off of Ray Dalio's, about 40% should be allocated right now for this economic environment we're in to U.S. Treasury bonds. Ask your financial advisor if they think U.S. Treasury bonds would be a good mix for your 401k or your investments. You better be prepared for the answer. They're going to tell you, whoever told you that's an idiot. They are. They're going to say, inflation's 7% and those Treasury bonds are only paying 2%. I never understand this. I spent 16 years in Wall Street. The Series 7, is the equivalent of the bar exam in the financial advisory world. It's what you have to take to get your stockbroker license. The majority of that entire book and that entire test, which is an absolute bitch to pass. It's one of the hardest tests to pass, period. The biggest portion of that is explaining bonds, inverse relationships of bonds to interest rates. For some reason, advisors have forgotten the one thing that they learned. And that is the inverse relationship. And they either forgot that, or they've gotten so caught up in selling the thing that pays them the most, because U.S. Treasury bonds pay absolute dog shit, if anything. So now let me ask you, if banks and insurance companies and the wealthy are putting their money in U.S. Treasury bonds, why are you not? Let me ask you another thing. Walk into your bank with I don't care what level of wealth you're at, go to your bank advisor. That advisor with the fancy suit on, or, maybe you're at the level where you've got your private premier banking relationship and you got your fancy separate office where they serve you shitty coffee instead of the really shitty coffee in the lobby. And then ask them one thing. Say, listen, I'm here for one reason and one reason only today. I want you to help me with all of my money. Say that. Say it just like that. I want you to help me with all of my money. Watch them drool. There'll be a big smile on their face. They're, chin to ear to ear. And then just say, hey, all right, all I want you to do is I just want you to put my money, all of it, in the exact same place this bank puts its money. And then sit back and shut up. Because what you will hear next is that they cannot do that, or some variation of that. Where do banks put their money? What's called BOLI, bank-owned life insurance. It's not what you think of, but it is bank-owned life insurance. Just Google it. And then U.S. Treasury bonds. Their tier one capital is put in Treasury bonds and BOLI. That is it. And banks have increased the amount of BOLI they buy since 2008, I think by 4 or 5 times, 4x or 5x. Look it up. But why can't they put your money there? Seems so simple. Let me tell you why. Because they can't get paid on it. Or the amount that they get paid is significantly reduced because you win and they don't. Isn't that messed up, folks? So you want to learn how to do exactly that? Great. Come to the 3-day. This is the economy right here. Here's how it works. We've been in an expansion phase, a long-term debt phase for the last 75 to almost 100 years. And how this works. So I want to explain this. It's very simple. I want everybody to really pay attention. I'm going to draw it out for you. Okay. I want you to pretend that your income, and I'm just going to make your income 100,000. Doesn't matter where it is. It's just simple math. You make $100,000. So what is your spending ability? Forget about taxes and all that and inflation. Let's just keep it simple. If you make 100, how much can you spend? 100, right? So then you spend $100,000. When you spend $100,000, what does that do? That creates an income for somebody else of $100,000. But you see, this isn't how it works. This is called productivity. Your productivity is your growth. So as you produce more, you make more. But now in this world, there's another thing called credit. So if you make $100,000, you probably can get credit easily of $10,000. So now, what is your spending ability? Is it 100 or 110? Well, it's 100 of income and $10,000 of credit.
Okay.
So now you're spending $100,000. So when you spend 110, what does that do? Your spending is somebody else's income. So now somebody else makes 110. If somebody else has the income of 110, now they can probably go out and get credit of 15,000. I'm just keeping this simple. So that means now how much can they spend? $125,000. So they spend 125 and that becomes somebody else's income. And this goes on and on and on for 75 to 100 years. Hence why the expansion phase of the economic cycle is slow and it looks like this. The productivity growth, which is something that we've all seemingly forgotten about, is the real growth, expanded by credit, comes here. But then when you hit the end of this cycle, which we are, the same thing happens. When this person's income drops back down to 100 because of certain things that happen, they maybe get a demotion, they lose their job and have to take a lower paying job, whatever. Now all of a sudden, they don't have the ability to get credit because their credit got wiped out because they turned the corner. So now they only have 100,000. So they give that 100 to somebody else, but that somebody else doesn't have that. You see what happens? It goes 80, it goes 70, it goes 60. This is called deleveraging. This is where we're at the very start of it. We are beginning the process. This is what I'm trying to explain. So how do you beat this? It's very simple. You figure out how to take your money and make your money work for you in places where it's not going to go down, in places where it's not relying on credit, in places where you are in control of it. I'm sorry I went along with that, but that's exactly what we teach.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I've had some people asking about the 3-day and whatnot over in the chat. So we're about an hour in. I just want to bring it up and show you guys exactly what you'll be getting over.
How much is the discount?
Yeah, what you'll be getting over the weekend. So if you go to the link that I just posted, moneyschooltraining.com/registration, it'll take you to this registration page that shows you all about the event. But I just want to dig a little bit deeper just to give you an idea of what you're going to be learning. And just give me a second. My laptop's catching up. Here we go. So, you know, Chris just now talking about, you know, what's happening, you know, how all that works with productivity versus expansion and you know, the retrace and everything like that. We're going to spend the entire first day, the day one Friday, starting at 10 a.m. Eastern. Chris is going to be teaching for about 90% of the day, and I'll be hopping on with my hot takes throughout the day as well. But Chris and I are going to spend the entire day, just us two and all of you, getting deep into the stuff that he was just talking about behind him, getting into how banks work, how to take advantage of banks. Because even though we talk about becoming your own banker and getting banks out of our financial lives and stop giving our money and storing our money at the banks where they pay us less than 1% and they make 400 to 1,600% on the money that we give them. First off, F banks. But if you know how to take advantage of banks and leverage banks and use their money smartly, then that's very, very important financial technique. And after I get done showing this, what's going on at the 3-day, Chris, what I want to do is teach a couple techniques on things that people could do right now just from this training without even going to the 3-day, things they can start doing right now in their financial lives to start taking advantage of this. And then we'll just dig in deep on Friday. So if you like what Chris was just talking about behind you a second ago, that's all day Friday. Chris drawing on the boards with his charts and doing what he does best, explaining this stuff where everybody, even I, can understand exactly what's going on and how to take advantage of it. And then on day 2, we're going to kick off and start bringing in the experts. So Kevin Shortell, that technique I was teaching you guys at the beginning, how to take advantage of that almost $10 trillion the U.S. Treasury Department just designated for foreclosure assistance. Kevin's going to come on and launch Saturday morning with that strategy right there. Then we have Kelly Cardenas coming on. You want to talk a little bit about Kelly?
Yeah, Kelly is one of my really, really close friends. And, Kelly is not what you think. He is a very unique individual. You can tell just by looking at the photo of him there on the screen. He's got blonde dreads. But Kelly is famous. He's famous in the beauty industry, the salon industry. He has built an empire alongside of Paul Mitchell. You all know of Paul Mitchell products, right? He has worked hand and foot with them to build a brand, but he is literally a branding expert. But you're not going to just learn about branding because you're like, what is branding? You're going to learn about the steps of how you need to get in the right mindset and also the right just physical state to be able to do all this. He is one of the most just crazy. What's the word for it, Stephen? I'm missing it. He's one of the best speakers I've ever seen, but it's not what you think when you see him and when you hear what industry he came from. It's totally different. We've had him on our internal circles, our MSTV coaching calls, and what he teaches about, I cannot just take my eyes off of it. I can't just, for 1 second, I can't even look away. And it's very easy for me to get distracted by my phone. It's powerful, and you need to hear it because he is going to prepare you mentally and physically for what is about to come so that you do know how to go into this world, into this opportunity that's coming, and you don't, get scared or you don't worry about things. I don't know. He's just, I could go on for hours about Kelly, but he's just somebody you have to hear. And I can't tell you exactly why. And
then the strategy we're gonna share with you guys here in just a moment goes right into this topic in another way of doing it that's even, in my opinion, more powerful. But we have Matthew Sullivan coming on with Quantum RE that's going to teach you about what are called home equity agreements. So have a lot of you heard of HELOCs before? So home equity agreements are tapping into the equity in your home without actually getting that debt, without actually having to pay back the loans on that HELOC on a regular basis. So tap into that lazy money through a home equity agreement, put that money to work to create more money for you. And we'll talk about that strategy in just a second. But basically, if you own a home and you're sitting in it right now, look around yourself. What we're talking about is the walls, the 2x4s, the roof, how there's actually money inside your walls, inside your drywall that you can tap into and put to work to create passive income for yourself. So we'll get into that strategy. We have Spencer Montgomery. Hey, Chris, what is crypto? What is Bitcoin? Have you ever heard of that before?
Yeah,
it's only one of the
digital currency.
It's only one of the most hot button investments you can talk about right now. So we have Spencer kind of come on. He's one of the leading experts in cryptocurrency, and the way that he teaches, it's really cool. He's got a really good, because there's lots of cryptocurrency experts out there, right? But they can talk till they're blue in the face. If you don't understand what they're saying and be able to take actionable steps, what's the point? And that's what Spencer does. And we've actually packaged Spencer into something else that we're doing with qualified funds. That's just, you guys can't miss this strategy that we're going to be teaching. And then Saturday afternoon, like I mentioned, Solomon's going to be coming on talking about those 1041 tax strategies using trust and foundations. And then Saturday morning, we're going to kick off with the Private Money Club. We have Brent Carlson coming on talking about taxes and asset protection. We're going to start teaching you some different real estate techniques, get into hedging against the markets. Hedging is a strategy that we teach in our 1010 trading program, where you can protect the money in your 401ks by implementing some simple trades through the hedging techniques. So Sodi will be coming on talking about that. And then we're going to have one of the most powerful real estate investors, coaches, and mobile home park investors in the country, Chris Rude. I'm just going down right here. So this guy right here, Chris Rude is going to be coming on to close out the day on Sunday and talk about what he's doing with mobile home parks and how you can get involved directly with that with him as well. So it's just a star-studded weekend with all these experts and just unbelievable people that you're going to want to start surrounding yourself with. So anything to add to that, Chris?
Yeah, just one thing, like Chris Rude, he's a very well-known, investor. People really like him. People follow him. He's got a huge network of people that, work with him, follow him, and he coaches. But investing in Chris's deals is the real sweet spot. And what I've created through the Private Money Club gives you access firsthand to Chris's deals. Just so everybody knows, I'd say that we fund, like we are the bank on probably about 75 to 80% of all Chris Rude's deals. And there's a lot of them. We raise the money for Chris Rude. And if you guys want in on that with a very accredited and very well-known investor, there's only one way, and that's the 3-day event. That's the only way you're going to get access to Chris Rude's deals, because people are there waiting for his deals every single month. And the only way into that is through this event. That's it. There's no other way. And not only that, there's a couple other people that are going to be speaking at this. We have a special guest coming on. We're not going to tell you who it is, but someone you need to hear from. But the whole idea is, if you've come to the 3-day event before, although you might know some of those names you heard, the content and what they're talking about is totally different. I think the only one that will be the same is probably Sullivan, probably Matthew Sullivan in Quantum RE, because that's a pretty clean cut, simple thing that really gives people access to that hidden money in their walls and in their rafters without having to create debt or without having to create monthly payments through debt. So it's a very unique thing. And the other thing too, that I want to get back to is, there's two different types of people that I think we help if I really do it. And I said it, there's, both sides of the coin, people with money and people that need money. But the one thing that I will tell you is pretty cool is a lot of people don't want to be active. They don't want to go out and flip houses. They don't want to go out and get calls from tenants or deal with leaky toilets or deal with anything. I'm out here in New York. It seems like everything I don't even know what doesn't hit us out here. Frozen pipes, everything. They don't want to deal with that. So they don't want to own anything, but they want to control everything. So if that's you, if I'm speaking to you, if you don't want to own anything, you don't want the hassles of dealing with anything, and you just want to control everything and get checks, then there's a lot you need to learn, but it's actually quite simple. We need to mimic the bank and understand how to protect your money, first and foremost, how to make your money go to work for you, and then how to do it with a regimented system. And then the other side are the people that just love it. There's a bunch of you that I'm speaking to right now that just love swinging hammers. You love creating. You love going in there and designing. We used to love this. Me and my wife, we've done well over 250 flips. I think we're at like 269 with the newest one. And I'm over it. I'm done. I'm completely done with it. I hate it. On all my lives, I'm like, this will be the last time I ever come to this property, I hope. But for some of you, you love that. Like me and Larissa used to, you love getting in there. You love demo. You love doing the work and creating it and having the design capabilities. If that's you, you're probably only restricted from scaling by money. So being in the same place with the people that I just mentioned that don't want to own anything, but want to control everything, and they're going to control it through a mortgage or a deed of trust. And then you're the person that needs money, and all these people with money. That's the ultimate right there. And all you need to be is in the right place with the right skill set, the right knowledge, and the right tools. And that's it. The golden ticket, the golden key, if you will. I don't mean to keep hitting that, but literally I've been doing this a long time, and I've come down to the consensus that it really is that simple. Each person solves somebody else's problem. And then there's also probably some outliers out there that love the stock market. And you're like, I want to keep playing the stock market. Great. Sodi will give you unbelievable knowledge. And I think it's going to be Sodi and Michael, because we're going to be talking about futures. We're going to be talking about hedging, the same strategies used by Warren Buffett, so that when the market goes down, his long hold stocks like Coca-Cola, that dude's never selling Coca-Cola. Does everybody understand that? But when Coca-Cola drops because the whole tide goes down, he's hedged. He has protections to protect his downside interest. When everything goes down, he's got positions on Coca-Cola that are making money, padding the amount it's going down. Do you know how to do that? I don't know. It's time to learn if that's the realm you're in. And just crypto, it's a new space. People are really interested in it. I think crypto's got legs. I think it's going to go a long way. I think it's going to be very volatile on the way, but we're going to teach you, or not we, Spencer specifically, are going to teach you how to actually do it the right way. When I heard him talk, I do everything Spencer told me to do with crypto. It's such a simple strategy. I don't even think about it. And then I kind of took a little bit of my Wall Street stuff and I did that. So, and the other thing too, like I said, we're launching this brand new thing that we're going to be teaching about is crypto is great, but crypto, for most people, you have to have money to invest in crypto. And a lot of people, all their money's stuck in their retirement account. We are going to show you how to use your retirement account and tap into Spencer's knowledge, his coaching and everything else to then use your retirement dollars to invest in crypto. or use your retirement dollars to invest in gold, or use your retirement dollars to fund your real estate deals, or fund other people's real estate deals if you don't want to get your hands dirty. Listen, this sounds like a lot, and it is, but it's all simple fundamentals of wealth building. It's 6 laws applied in a system. And not only that, it's basic banking functions. If you just learn the banking functions, the rest is really just a component of knowing, all right, which one of these do I like? Which one of these fire me up? And then you just go that direction.
Yeah. So wanted to, maybe get in, Chris, to hidden equity, just so we can show them just one actionable, thing they can start preparing right now, right?
We could do hidden equity, or, one thing I'd love to do is the case study, marry the Joneses. Can we do that?
Yeah.
I'm always fired up by this, and just, we've been talking so much about this, and this is literally resilient to market fluctuation. So I want you to understand what one of our clients actually did, because it's very in line with what you're going to learn. And maybe this will ring true to some of you. So Stephen, you do such a good job of explaining this. And I love this story because it's a real client, a real story, and just unbelievable on how they did this.
Yeah. And, Chris, this is just a real simple explanation. And, but this stuff's not complicated. Once you understand how it works, it's very easy to start making this stuff happen. So like you said, these were, so what we did here is these clients' goals were to create what we call consistent, predictable income for the rest of your life. I mean, how many of you, first off, like the sound of that? Consistent, predictable income for the rest of your life. And then just think to yourself, before I get into that, what would that mean to you? And what would that amount be? Okay. Because we don't really have time to talk about goals today. We can get into that maybe on Friday if we have time on the training, but goals are very important, because goals are what allow you to realize what you want to be able to accomplish. And then you can reverse engineer to get you to where you need to be. And we do that for clients all the time. Chris and I are putting together a plan right now for somebody that, needs to live on $500,000 a year. That's what his lifestyle demands, and that's what he needs to do. And he has a certain amount of money that he's designating to accomplish $500,000 a year in income to live on. But he also doesn't want to completely deplete his principal, because he wants to have stuff to pass down to his kids and grandkids and create that generational aspect of wealth. So what's your number? Would you be happy living on 500,000 a year, 50,000 a year, 100,000 a year? What is that? And then we can reverse engineer how to make that happen. But the point of the matter is the consistent, predictable income for the rest of your life. Because how many people do you know that are struggling? They don't know in retirement where their next money's going to come from, or, they don't have that consistent, predictable income. And what does it do that I was talking about earlier? It creates all that stress. So I just absolutely love this because of that. So this was Charles and Mary Jones. At the time, they were 53 and 55 years old. And what we did is we basically created the Bank of C&M Jones. Okay. And so what happened is they were 10 years from retirement. They had $350,000 in retirement accounts. They were inexperienced managing investments, so they didn't know what they were doing. They didn't have any plan. They didn't want to actively go out there and manage things. And they did not want an active role in any of this. Okay. They wanted to continue doing what they were doing with their careers and their lives, but they knew they needed their money to grow to be able to live the retirement that they wanted to do. So they became their own bank, the Bank of C&M Jones. So here's the numbers. So they had a current principal of $350,000. And what we did is we created a plan for them through passive private money lending, where they were going to grow. They knew exactly how much they were going to grow their money over the next 10 years to achieve a $1 million nest egg at retirement. And then I'll show you what we did with that. But their goal was to get to $1 million passively without any active money management or anything like that. Okay. Numbers make sense. $13,000 annual addition into their retirement accounts they were committed to, 10 years. And we knew they needed to make at least 9% a year compounding to get that $1 million figure. We following so far, Chris? So what happened?
100% following. And a lot of people are probably saying, yeah, but how do they earn a consistent 9%? The market doesn't do that.
Right. So to get the consistent 9% income, all you have to do is find an investment that's going to consistently pay you 9%. When you're playing the markets, you have volatility. If you look at the history of the Dow, of the S&P, it's always going to go up over time. But I can show you examples where if you were out of the market for 2 months out of a 10-year time span, when somebody would have made a 40% return, you could have lost money. So you need to be in for the long term or none at all. And if you happen to pull out or make things happen over time, you're going to not always hit those returns. Now, one investment that can give you a consistent return all the time is when you control your money. And one of the strategies for that is through private money lending. When you do private money lending, you can set a specific loan amount that you're willing to lend your money out. And when you find a borrower that's willing to pay you for that, you can count on that exact amount being paid to you on a regular basis. It's very simple. It's very easy. How many borrowers on this call right now would love to borrow truly private money for your flips and 9% with no points?
Yeah, say I bet you there's a lot of them. I know right now one person that will take $2 million if one of you have it, and they will pay 12%. So how many of you would love to get 9%? I got, so there's a guy that just came to me. He's a very, very large investor, kind of, unlike them. He has lots of money and he's a big developer and he needs $2 million and he's willing to pay 12%. But these people were just making a consistent 9%.
Yeah, they were from a small little town, and they were lending mostly to like friends and family, I believe, Chris. And so they just did something. Hey, this is what we need to do. This creates a win-win situation and a great relationship that we know over the next decade we can rely on. We can keep it consistent and we can continue to earn these returns that we need. So that's very easy. Again, it goes back to what you were talking about earlier, Chris, network and relationships and just creating these win-win situations. And that's what real estate investing is all about. So that's what they did, is they started doing private money lending, using their retirement accounts and compounding this money for the 10 years that gave them that just over $1 million in retirement. And then once they got to that point where they were ready for retirement, they knew that they needed about $90,000 a year to live on. So what they decided to do was take that $1 million nest egg, but instead of just drawing money from that $1 million and depleting it, they said, hey, we already have the system in place. We're just going to continue lending our money out at 9% to the same person because they want to keep using it. So we're going to keep lending it. And so they just started saying, hey, if we take our $1 million and we lend this out at 9%, that's going to give us a $92,000 annual income. Or when it comes to private money lending, in most cases, you're paid interest payments over time. So what they were able to do is they were able to create a consistent $7,700 a month income coming in that they were able to live on without ever touching their $1 million nest egg principle that they have sitting in place for a rainy day, to blow it later on, or to pass it down to the next generation of kids and grandkids. So it created another beautiful win-win situation for Charles and Mary Jones and the Bank of C&M Jones.
I love that. And there's a lot of people that are on this training right now that are doing exactly what Charles and Mary did. Like, they're doing the exact same formula, doing the exact same thing, and having income come in. Some of the money is non-qualified. Some of it is in retirement accounts. It doesn't matter. And for the first time ever, like I said, now we have the ability to help you become your own bank with qualified money, your retirement dollars in those retirement accounts. This is the first time we've been able to do this because of the relationship we just did. Actually, it's not fully done, but it will be this week. And then when we do this 3-day event, we're gonna roll it out. We're gonna show you how you can do all these things with your qualified money, and then some, and then some, and then some, along with coaching and someone to hold your hand, along with what we call the money management team, which is a team of people put in place, just like for the money multiplier, the same as the mapping team, that are literally going to create your future map. What that map is going to show you is based on your needs, your goals, and what you want to do. Based on the decisions you make to move your money, this is what it's going to look like in the future. Imagine that, being able to literally accurately predict what your retirement income is going to be, or forget about retirement, what the income is going to be before retirement. Because who wants to wait till 59 and a half, 65 to retire? What if you could turn that on sooner? Well, that's what we're going to show you how to do.
Now, Chris, why in the world would I pay Sandra or Colleen or you or these other people commenting over here, 12 to 15% to borrow money when I can go to the bank and get it for 3% all day long?
Oh, that's a great question. So if you can go to the bank and get it for 3% all day long, hell, you can probably get it cheaper at the bank than 3%. But remember earlier we were talking about real estate, and we were talking about the ability to actually buy real estate in this environment. If you're not a cash buyer, you're not getting the deal. So if you go to the property that you want to buy, and I don't care, listen, if you go on the MLS and you're dealing with a realtor, or maybe you go to the steps of the courthouse and you buy the foreclosures or the tax liens and all those, the sheriff's sale, it doesn't matter where you go. If you then go up after you won the bid and you say, hey, listen, I got to get a bank loan, so how much time do I have? Gone, done. Like the next person in line is getting the deal. You are not. So if you're buying a primary house, clearly you'd never borrow money from me or Colleen or anyone else on here, because you can get a bank loan at 3%. We're not talking about buying real estate that you're going to live in. Matter of fact, none of us would lend to you anyway, because we only lend to entities. What we're talking about is real estate investing, apartment buildings, flips, a whole Airbnbs, all those different things, land development deals. Those are what we're lending on. And every one of those equations, they need cash. And they need it fast. The person with the cash, what is that statement? It was the one with the gold. What is that statement? The one with the gold makes the rules. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah, the golden rule, the one with the gold makes the rules. Well, if you don't have the gold or access to the gold, you ain't making the rules and you ain't getting the deal. And then somebody else is going to get it because they had access and a network and what you want to be able to buy the deal. So hopefully that answers it.
Yeah, and there's many other reasons as well, right? As far as how banks lend, how many deals you're doing, and so on and so forth. And we'll talk a little bit more about that on Friday also, because again, there are times when it's appropriate to go borrow from a bank and use the bank's money and leverage all of that, especially taking advantage of these low rates. But I just wanted to mention, because we do live in this low rate environment, people willing to pay 12 to 15% all day long. Well, what happens when interest rates do creep up? What happens when I go to a bank, I have to pay 6 to 8%, and it's much harder to borrow money because things are so much restricted now, because money's not flowing as freely from the Fed and the money's not flowing as freely through banks. How much am I willing to pay a private lender at that point? You mentioned the 80s earlier, the last time we saw interest we saw inflation like this. And then what happened to the interest rates? Listen, in the 80s, I was born in 83. So I was in single digits, right? But guess what? I have a dad that told me about this stuff. And he told me that he was buying homes from banks in the 80s for 18, 20, 26% interest rates. So if I'm going to banks and I'm borrowing money, let's say they go up to 6%, 8%. What am I going to make through private money lending at that point, Chris? I can charge 20% for the same deal. So this is a strategy that's not only going to work now, but imagine what it's going to look like in the future.
Yeah. So again, back to what we were saying earlier, if you were answering someone's questions, remember, we got to be looking out the front window, not the rear view mirror. Rear view mirror looks nice and pretty because, hey, we've been in this expansion phase. It's been, everybody's making money, everybody's rich, or they feel rich. The people that feel rich are not going to feel rich soon when this whole thing happens. But when do you really want to buy real estate? You want to buy it here, or do you want to buy it here and here and here and here? Which one would you prefer to buy? Well, any of you that said this, I don't think we can help you. I truly don't. I don't think there's a damn thing we can teach you that will help you if this is where you want to buy real estate and stocks. Okay. So if that's you, don't sign up for the 3-day, because we can't teach you anything. But if you think you want to buy it here, here, and here, and here, guess what happens in a deleveraging period? Banks freeze up. Banks call lines of credit. Trust me, I know, I've had it happen. Banks stop lending money because what happens? Remember, your income isn't going up. Your income's going down. Do banks want to lend to you when your income's going down? No, they do not. Do banks want to lend to you when the liquidity is getting sucked out of the markets because the Fed makes a decision to clean up their balance sheet and they start selling bonds in the open market, getting rid of liquidity, which is what the banks use. Banks might be lending today. You might be able to get 3% today, but eventually, and actually not even eventually, the Fed already said they're going to raise rates probably 4 times this year. At the end of 2022, how much is it going to cost to get a mortgage? It's not going to be 3%. At the end of 2023, what's it going to cost? Is it going to be 7, 8, 9? Are you even going to be able to get a loan? That line of credit you have on your house, when this whole process happens, your house that has all this equity in it will no longer have equity. The equity vanishes out of thin air when liquidity is sucked out of the markets. Folks, it's happening right here, and right now. So you got to get control of your money. If you got equity in your house, you got to get that lazy money to work. And this is where you want to buy. And if you're buying on this, does it matter what the cost of capital is? If it's 10 or 9 or 12%, does it matter if you're buying a house 30% off, 40% off? Does it matter if you're buying stocks 60% off? And obviously the numbers I'm just making up. It doesn't, because the cost is not an issue in the absence. The cost is only an issue in the absence of value. So the cost justifies the value you're getting here. And then some, and then some. So that's kind of what we're talking about. And the other thing too, is after we kind of go through all these different things that we're talking about, imagine knowing a place where your money can sit, like not your qualified money, but where your money can sit, where it never stops earning interest. And you get to go use it. Oh, you found a new car. Oh, the car dealership is willing to sell it to you 20% off because now they can't move cars because nobody's buying cars anymore. Great. Well, I have cash. You're in line. You have the best negotiating ability. But when you pay cash for the car, imagine that money never stops earning interest. And then if you just apply the banking strategies that we teach, the infinite banking concept, you will then know how to get all the money back for every car you ever buy, drive, and own, for every copy machine you ever buy, use, and own, for every plane you ever buy, fly, and own. I don't know. I'm just making shit up now, but you get the drift. Like, imagine knowing a way where you get all the money back for everything and you didn't have to work harder, longer, or take on any risk to do it. You just learned. This is what you're going to learn at the 3-day event, and then some, and then some.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the ultimate question, somebody said it in the comments just now, but ask yourself, would you like to create your own bank like Charles and Mary Jones? Call it the bank of, what's your name? Sean likes the bank of white sexual chocolate, but that's his thing. So what's your bank name and how are you going to set that up? And we're going to teach you every step along the way and give you every tool and resource you need to be able to set that up. Again, guys, we're not the ones managing your money or asking you for your money or anything like that. We're just showing you exactly how to do every one of these steps and providing you the resources to make it happen. And it's a beautiful thing. Every one of you can do it.
I agree. I agree. So let's hit these 2 questions. Actually, before we hit that, let me ask a question. Everybody that's still on here, I want to know, do you think taxes are going up in the future? Say yes or no, or say aye or no. Yes, people are laughing at me. You should be, because it's a stupid question. Hell yes. Yes, 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 yes. Okay, so we all can agree that taxes almost 100% are going up in the future. So if taxes are going up in the future, what places do you want your money in? Do you want it in a place where all the gains are taxable? Is that where you want your money? No. Do you want your money in the place where most of your money already is, where it's tax deferred? In other words, you don't pay any tax today, maybe even got a tax deduction today, but in the future you have to pay tax. Is that where you want all your money? Well, this is commonly known as 401ks, deferred annuities. This is IRAs, things like that. Do you want your money there? No. Do you know where you want all of your money? I'm just going to draw it over here. This box, tax-free. You already all said it. You all said taxes are going up. So why would you want your money in something that every year you got to pay taxes, like your checking account, like your savings account, if they pay you any interest, like your CDs, like your brokerage accounts? Okay. Every year you get taxed. Every year you're getting whittled away because the tax is going up, which is something you have zero control of. This is the worst one. Read the book, The Power of Zero, and you'll understand. Tax deferred. You get a tax deduction at the lowest tax rate ever, which is today. You all just agreed. Today is the lowest taxes you will ever pay in the future, period. Do you want to get a tax deduction on today's dollars to pay a higher tax on future dollars? Not only that, those dollars will be weaker because of inflation. So you don't want your money there. But what if you could then take and get all of this money into this bucket? That's what you want. Take all of this money, get it into this bucket. The only money that should remain here in your tax deferred account, okay, is the amount of money that you get. So I don't know what it's going to be, but let's just say the match. Whatever match money you get, because that's free money. And then there's a calculation we would figure out on how much you should probably keep in there. But outside of that, we want to get all of our money over to this bucket where it's tax-free today, tomorrow, 20 years from now. That is the bucket. And that goes right into Nicole's question. Nicole asked, can I grow your money, or, well, I don't think she's talking about my money. Can you grow money inside of an IBC policy, so infinite banking concept policy, like you can with a self-directed Roth IRA? So Nicole's been around the campfire a little bit. So number one, she knows what infinite banking concept policies are. Number two, she knows what self-directed Roth IRAs are. We love those puppies. So in other words, you invest your money into the IBC, okay? And then you take the money from the IBC, you take it out tax-free, and you never stop earning interest on it, and you invest it in real estate. And she's just saying, set the interest rate at 5%. And then can that 5% go back into the infinite banking policy tax-free like it does with the self-directed IRA? This is a great question. The answer is no, Nicole. So the 5% that you make on the money after it leaves your infinite banking policy is now taxable. So unfortunately, that income falls in this category. So, but then once we take this taxed income, which is the 5% income that you made on the real estate, and we move it back into this, now future growth on that 5% is protected, but you will have to pay tax on the 5% interest that your money works for you making. But in a self-directed Roth IRA, you could buy the real estate with your money in your self-directed IRA. The real estate becomes the asset in the IRA, kind of like a stock certificate would. And then all the income that IRA generates with the real estate is all tax-free. So again, we have to go into that. So Nicole, thank you for asking that, because that wasn't something I was going to really go deep into in the 3-day training, but on day one, I will deeply cover that. Stephen and I will deeply cover how to do that, but not only how to do that, we'll talk about how to actually make that 5% work, whether you buy real estate or lend on real estate.
Yep.
That's a good question.
Yeah. Friday's a lot of fun. Friday is, it doesn't have the glamour of all these different experts coming on and meeting all these new people and stuff. It's just you and me, but it's unbelievable how important Friday is.
Yeah. And let me hit one other question. It's really important because somebody did just bring up a question that was kind of already answered, but I just want to make sure that they understand it. So they said, but if I go from my 401k or my traditional IRA to a Roth IRA, I have to pay taxes now. Right. But what did we just say about taxes? Are they going up in the future? You all agreed yes. And then you could probably then second agree that you're in the lowest tax bracket you're ever going to be at. So if you have to pay tax on the money today at the lowest tax bracket you're ever going to be at to get it into a tax-free bucket where in the future, all of the gains, all of the growth remains tax-free, is that a win? Well, it depends, because there's a big depends. We'd have to work with your CPA and make sure that that's not going to trigger a higher tax bracket, but you should be able to do that over time. You don't have to do it all at once. A lot of people just want to get it done. They want to rip the Band-Aid off and move the money and do a Roth conversion and pay all the tax. I don't always like that. I always like doing the math with their CPA to figure out how much can we transfer or convert to the Roth and pay tax on before it bumps you into the next tax bracket. Okay, maybe we only can do half of your 401k. Let's do half in 2022. Then in 2023, barring that the government doesn't get rid of this ability, we then move the other half over. And that's the missing link that I can't give you an answer for. The government could take away the ability for you to convert your traditional or 401ks to a Roth. And they've talked about it. It's on the chopping block. Trust me. They don't want money in tax-free buckets because that hurts the government. And they understand that what's coming is that thing that I was showing on the board. So that's a great question. And the very last question I want to hit is Jade's. I was able to move more money. I was able to move more money from the spouse's 401k and other IRAs into the EQRP, which is technically an employer qualified retirement plan, like a 401k, but it's probably a solo or a self-directed. Should I place the EQRP into an LLC? Is this being covered on the 3-day weekend? Absolutely. As a matter of fact, that new product, that new offering, a package, I would call it, not a product. The package that we put together, the package number 2 is exactly that. It includes the LLC. It helps you do that so that you can do everything you're talking about. Yes, we will cover that on the 3-day. Stephen knows a ton about that. So we'll hit that. And that is one of these new ones that we haven't even talked about yet that we just came up with the packages. Stephen, what else you got to wrap us up for this first preview here?
I think it's awesome, man. I mean, I think it's a good thing. I had somebody asking in the comments, is this just a webinar for a sales pitch for another webinar that's not free? And, if you've been following us before, we never sell anything on these. They're always just free information. But yes, we did take today, and we're talking about a 3-day training that we have coming up. We only do it once a quarter, so it's only planned once every 3 months for 2022. And the importance of attending this 3-day, yes, that is what we're talking about today, because it's that important. And if you got no other value out of today and think it's just a big sales pitch, then best of fucking luck to you, because what we shared with you today is some pretty damn important information. So I'm sorry to be blunt, but I hope everybody else got some value out of this today, because I learned stuff from you, Chris, just today on this webinar. So,
well, let's ask everybody else. So outside of the one person that clearly got no value because all he looked at this entire thing is a sales pitch for a 3-day event, how many of you got value out of today, even though we talked about a 3-day event that actually cost you money? See, that's the problem with some people, and I'm not going to say all, and Stephen already kind of put it there, but see, a lot of people got value out of this. But a lot of people, unfortunately, they always want to look at the wrong things. They think they skipped all of the value that they just got. They will never apply anything that they just learned, because they're just here to find the negative. In this world, you are going to come around people just like that are completely negative mindset people. They can't see the positive in anything. If all we did this entire time is spit value, and at the end, we never even told you about the 3-day, and then next week, the 3-day happened, you heard about it, and then you'd be like, well, how come you didn't tell me? Oh, dude, because you said you didn't want to hear about any events that cost money. Listen, you must be one of those people that has your hand out just waiting for everything to be handed for you too. But you know what? If you're one of those people, and I don't mean to pick on you, nobody knows who you are. This isn't for you. We can't help everybody. And I don't want to help, and Stephen doesn't want to help, and my team doesn't want to help people with a broken fucking mindset, because that is the one thing we can't fix. And that comment says to us, your mindset is broken. So lots of other places you can go where they'll charge you a lot of money to get exactly what we just gave you now. So go find what you're looking for, and good effing luck. All right, if you like that video, make sure you check out this video right now. And also don't forget, subscribe to my channel, and don't ever forget to smash that alert button. We'll see you on the next one.